So far in this series, we've gone over much of the history of the two high school classmates that took over competitive league. By now, it's been a full 6 years of Deft and Faker reigning supreme at the top of the game. Plenty of other stars have come and gone, from Pawn's mid-lane dominance to Chovy and the new generation starting to emerge, but as of yet, none of them have managed to eclipse the kinds of legacies these two share. For Faker, he's been the undisputed GOAT for a while, winning more world championships and Korean titles than anyone. Although since his last world title, he's entered a bit of a downward spiral, with 2 straight years ending in bitter disappointment. That decline gave Deft a great shot to win his first Worlds after coming so close so many times before. He nearly had it in the bag at the 2018 event, but KT Rolster came up 1 game short, losing their final Game 5 to the eventual champions Invictus Gaming. Deft has already built one of the most impressive resumes and careers in all of competitive league, but you could tell the kind of person he is by how he reacted next.
사실 롤이라는 걸 제 인생에서 빼버리면은 정말 아무것도 없는 사람인데 사실 그 롤드컵이라는 정말로 되게 큰 의미로 있거든요. 그래서 항상 이제 누워 있을 때 생각을 하는데 롤드컵에서 경기를 하는 생각을 하는데 그냥 그 경험이 너무 좋아서 지금까지도 계속 롤드컵에 되게 집착하면서 그냥 롤드컵에 나간다는 자체가 좀 한 해 동안 고생한 걸 보답받는 느낌인 것 같아요. 그냥 일단 그걸 해야 제 다음 인생이 있을 것 같아요. 그냥 그걸 하기 전에는 뭘 해도 되게 불편한 마음인 것 같아요.
In the 2018-19 offseason, the KT Super Team blew up as all their players hit free agency. Most of this roster didn't have too many golden years left in their playing days, with many required to consider retirement in the near future. Esports careers are already absurdly short, but doubly so for Korean players who must participate in mandatory military service that often takes place during their mid to late 20s. Deft was no exception and spent some time in this offseason considering retirement, but after thinking about it for a while, he came to the conclusion he couldn't let go of League quite yet. For Season 9, Deft chose to return, looking to sign with whoever was interested in having him. In that winter's offseason, Deft received a variety of offers and came quite close to signing with one foreign org in particular, but at the 11th hour, he decided to do what he did every offseason and followed his best friend. Deft and Pawn both signed on to play for Kingzone Dragon X in 2019. This marked the 6th year in a row the two would be playing together. In fact, these friends had now spent every year of their professional careers sharing a roof in the same organization apart from one, making their story one of the most heartwarming esports friendships. The only sadness coming from all that time, Pawn was sidelined with injuries. Here in Season 9, though, Pawn managed to stay surprisingly healthy, starting nearly every game of Spring. This allowed both Pawn and Deft to take advantage of their chemistry playing together in a way they hadn't done in years, resulting in the duo putting on a wonderful swan song.
Okay, shifting forward, has to use his flash to get himself out of there. He's going to get devoured, Tucson. He spat him over the wall on the wrong side, but you can see Cuz doing a lot of damage. The last Acathian Rain not going to be enough. As the red buff does burn down, Keen now finds his way into this fight. Realmorph gets Pawn out of trouble, but Rascal is well and truly in it. Aiming, one more auto, and Pawn picks up the kill, flashes forward, make that a double for the Rise. And Deft may have died, but Pawn's still up, and he's 9-1-4.
This was the closest Newer League fans ever got to seeing why these two stars once rivaled Faker's talent. Even though DRX had a completely new lineup, Pawn and Deft helped carry the team to a top 3 finish in spring, and with that high placing, it gave the duo a good shot at winning one last LCK trophy together. They'd have to win 3 playoff series to do so, a tough task, especially considering the hordes of newer LCK rookie teams now vying to carve out their own legacies at the top. DRX had to deal with one of these teams in their very first round as they faced off against Damwon Gaming, a team everyone knew was on a one-way ticket to glory. Damwon had shown insane talent in their promotion run to the LCK, even garnering international respect before they made it to Korea's top league. They had a great 2019 spring that followed and looked pretty menacing going up against DRX in this playoff series, yet somehow, Deft and Pawn still had enough gas in the tank to throttle this team, winning a 3-0 series sweep.
Entrance comes down, slicing Maelstrom right onto Nuclear as the Dragon does fall. In the backline, Rascal takes down the Kaiser and flashes away Noguri. Has to use his flash to get on over, but Damwon, they're losing everyone on their frontline. Showmaker gets obliterated, Noguri as well, and Deft and Pawn do too much damage.
It would have been beautiful if Deft and Pawn could have kept this up, putting together one last domestic title to send their careers off. It seemed like both their careers were nearing the end, without much time left to accomplish anything else. At the very least, Pawn's health had shown them nothing was guaranteed. Any game you play could always be your last, and this next series was a fitting last one for Pawn.
Just a couple of spells will do it. Baker's going in.
Baker got caught.
He's gonna assassinate him, and the swipe goes the way of Tom Kent as Kingzone take out the Baron. But can any of them live on the backside? Pawn is a god. He's able to take a kill, but just go down.
Deft needs to be a hero. He doesn't seem to know how.
Are they gonna get in there? There's no.
Clint lived again!
Oh, Clint!
Oh my
He's
God!
gonna go down. Cuz gets in there, but it goes the way of Baker. Somehow, some way, they're gonna kill the two of them too. The Baron will go the way of SVP.
And now I think Khan and also the Ezreal that has 3 elemental breaks. Pawn, what are you doing?
They're going in. They want to get the kill, but that taunt was so good from the side of Ana. He's gonna steal him.
No.
And now Clint's gonna be able to get the kill in the back line. Rascal doesn't exist anymore. And
They
Baker's
weren't
here
patient
too.
enough.
The Maelstrom doesn't even really happen, as it was seen and then it was gone, as Kingzone are getting demolished here towards the end of game 3.
And this is it.
That's gonna
Next
do
turfs
it.
are gonna fall.
SKT looks like they're gonna be going to the finals with the clean sweep of Kingzone here, and made it look good towards the end. Kingzone cracked, but SKT stays super strong all the way to the end, and they will be facing off against Griffin in the finals at Jumpshield.
Shortly after this series, Pawn announced that he was going inactive on DRX's roster for the remainder of 2019, and at the end of the season, he finally decided to retire. In the end, the mental burden was too much, as Pawn cited his chronic physical and mental health problems as a reason for finally hanging everything up. In some ways, there was reason for celebration, as even with all his missed time, Pawn had racked up a pretty insane trophy case. Winning Korea's second ever World Championship and first ever MSI back-to-back on 2 different teams was honestly a breathtaking accomplishment for its time. Older League fans, at the very least, never forgot all those Faker solo kills and shutdowns way back before anyone even knew Pawn's name. But even so, it was hard to not look back on his career with some amount of sadness. For all of Pawn's accomplishments, it wasn't supposed to stop there. We thought when he came onto the scene that Pawn would be winning multiple titles, repeatedly challenging Faker, and truly contending for a place as one of the best players in the world year over year. Instead, we got a reminder of just how fleeting opportunity in life is, how you can't waste any chances you're given because they might be the last chance you get. It certainly was poetic, if nothing else. Pawn's last ever professional series was played against Faker, with Deft by his side. a fitting way to see time take his career. And as it so happened, Faker was about to learn even he wasn't immune from time itself. After beating DRX, SKT were off to Grand Finals, where they'd have to play their last series against Team Griffin. Fans were excited to see the matchup, as Griffin, of course, were the only other team who ever replicated T1's explosive emergence into competitive league. The series should be a good one, but SKT were well prepared. After their disappointing 2017 finale and the subsequent awful Season 8, SK Telecom had completely overhauled their roster. The club had fallen into disarray and needed a clean start, so for Season 9, they decided to take a page out of their rivals' handbook and built a super team. This involved signing some of the most talented carry stars, young rookies, and veterans alike, placing all of them alongside Faker and creating what many thought might be the greatest assembly of talent ever. Even if the team underperformed Griffin in the regular season, their super team came together perfectly for playoffs and swept the rookie squad 3-0 for another domestic cup.
All of the buttons have been pressed. Swan going down to the world end of the AoE's finally getting in there. Lahan's not doing enough damage, and Khan says the last fight was an illusion. This is a double kill, make it a triple as Toby tries to get out and just finds the backhand of an Ezreal.
And maybe 2018's an illusion, because SK Telecom T1, they're on a rampage to close out the series and go to MSI.
What was most interesting about this championship was how many casual esports fans expected it. Even with SKT's recent failures and the increased level of competition all across the world, most League fans just assumed Faker was on his way back to the top. This was seen all across Season 9 on various message boards that repeatedly declared 2019 was going to be Faker's redemption arc. After all, if Faker was the greatest and still actively playing, most couldn't help but make the assumption he was still, currently, the best player in the game. As talented as all these new challengers were, their stories quickly got brushed aside in favor of everyone tunnel visioning Faker's road back to the top, where most hoped he would make his return to the international stage to redeem himself. That meant this domestic cup was nice, but it mattered more in that it gave Faker a shot at international glory for the first time in years, qualifying him for MSI. That year's MSI was shaping up to be an exciting one. Invictus Gaming, the defending world champions, were there in attendance alongside some Western teams that were on impressive hot streaks. Couple that with Faker's redemption arc and you had a can't-miss event with a group stage that featured fierce competition. Every one of the top 4 clubs dropped at least one game to all the other big contenders, really making this event feel like one anyone could win. But of course, in close moments like this, everyone couldn't help but expect one player to emerge victorious. After SKT qualified for the knockout round, they just needed to win 2 best-of-5s, the first of which was against Europe's G2 Esports.
Keeps getting caught by these taunts. Bone Skewer goes up, but that's a big miss from Wonder. Can't found the damage on the back end, though. Slicing Maelstrom hasn't got any kills. Jankos is buying some time, but at what cost? That's a great scout of the week, but it's SK Telecom that are winning the fight. They turn their attention to Mickey. He goes golden for a few seconds. Wonder's done nothing. He's been watching from the sidelines. He finally gets a kill, but he doesn't get the reset. Now they're trying to turn it around. That's 2 for Wonder. He turns it back. Clint escapes with his life. All of a sudden, Caps has left alone Teddy. Look at that auto attack. Rat-a-tat-tat. And G2 goes splat! From 7,000! In a little bit of trouble, forced to flash defensively. Top G2's gold lead, most of it's on Cap. He's gone in, Marta's caught out, Teddy's been able to flash for now. Caps uses the self-cross on the ulti, and Card, he managed to get the slicing Maelstrom off. It's a 1-for-1 so far, but Wonder's still alive. That's a 3-man stun from Perch! The Bone Skewer sets another up. They've traded top for jungle. Kled is down, Jankos goes up, but he can't take down Faker! So far it's a 2-for-2. Wonder's running for his life, he can't find the stun. 2-for-3 at the end of the fight in favor of SKT.
And it's SKT that are continuously coming out on top of these fights. Wonder now has just spotted Marta.
All right, he has indeed, but look at the stun. That's just massive. Teddy gets the shutdown goal. 6, 1, and 5. The gold lead truly doesn't mean a thing. And SK Telecom, they might be able to burn Baron.
Oh, the pings are on.
To Justice Punch over the wall. Baron has been interrupted. Teddy is trying to step forward. The taunt is going to come out. Caps is trying to find the kill. Mata's in trouble. Faker's low, but they've already got one onto Mata. Where is Teddy? Follow his HP bar. Can't flashes up the wall. Teddy's dead. Yankos is in the pit. G2 Esports have been gifted and donated a Baron from SKT. That's a dunk from Wonder. Deft from below for the double, for the ace, for the Baron and the base. The gap be damned. Champions can fall, gods can bleed. Where were you when the West rose up to conquer champions? G2 Esports eliminates SK Telecom. North America face Europe at the MSI Finals.
"2019 MSI, perhaps more than any other event, solidified a new era of League quickly approaching. It wasn't just Korean rookies challenging older stars. Now other regions were repeatedly beating Korea's best on the world stage. Not even a super team paired with the GOAT could win anymore. Even now, many still thought this MSI must be a fluke. It was easier for people to believe the sky was falling than believe Faker wasn't the best player in League of Legends. That's why so many assumed the redemption arc was still on, and this loss would only make the impending Worlds victory feel all the more sweet. Meanwhile, Faker, to his credit, never listened to any of the noise. He never assumed his success was guaranteed, and instead chose to work for it. After MSI, Faker went back to the grind of the LCK practice regimen, working to secure a #1 seed for Worlds, and once again, the road proved to be tough. This time around for 2019 summer, the 3 LCK rookie teams showed the world they weren't really rookies anymore, as they all placed top 3 in the summer standings. Not only did this push T1 down to a lowly 4th place for the playoff bracket, but many of the top legendary clubs who had been regional staples of the LCK for half a decade, they fell all the way out of playoff contention entirely, some of which faced demotion. T1 were quite literally the only legacy org that made this playoff, and they'd have to win a series against 4 separate new clubs to win another title, a challenge perhaps only Faker could knock down.
Health bar, in goes Effort, gonna charge up everybody! And what a way to end the game! SKT gonna squeeze Griffin here into the dumpster, and they are going to do it! SKT will sweep in the playoffs and take down every single team in their path. They are the most dominant team from the Korean region, and they are the very accurate winners of today.
In his 7th year of professional play, Faker had just earned his 8th domestic championship. He beat every new organization, no matter how talented their stars, to earn Korea's #1 seed for 2019 Worlds. On the one hand, it was almost sad seeing all these new faces left as nothing but a footnote in Faker's inevitable victory. All the hard work they put in was brushed aside in favor of a single storyline the League community couldn't stop falling in love with. But on the other hand, it was hard to not root for Faker. Even as every other player in Korea's greatest generation was falling into retirement, he somehow managed to keep his team in title contention. In a hyper-competitive scene where careers are short and legacies are shorter, it stood as a miracle what Faker was doing. He was the one human being on Earth winning his battle with time. All he needed now was to finish the arc.
Uzi finding the damage in on the gone. RNG is still going to be kept alive, but the health bars are critically low. Faker's after Uzi, but he won't be able to find him just yet. Faker's stumbling away to chase. The claw will not find the mark, and Faker hands him a call and walks away.
You must play with effort to clean out the series. Well, now SKT need Faker to show up and be Faker to close out this series.
It's one apart. You've got to actually show up and be this player. Flashes in, got to find the route. That's the plays we were looking for. Gets the setup fight. The battle begins, and they're going to look for a lot of damage, but already Xerxes is gone. There's a shot to the backlines. Not going to live either. SKT, gods can bleed, but they will not die. A quarterfinal win, 3-1, and and we'll see you next week.
Yes, I said on top. Wonder going for the all-in.
He thinks he has the all-in. He needs to go in on Con. If he's going to kill him, he needs to kill him now. Con flashes back to safety. Faker not going to connect on the ultimate. That's massive. Still, though, the Ignite's ticking down. Wonder will drop, but that could have been everything. Just be forced to retreat. Faker now coming down. The Kiana's now coming in. G2 are now locked down under the tower. Where's the Kiana going to go? Dashing in. That's going to be one. Invisible with the grass plate. You pick up another one to go through. Faker cleaning up this fight as Con runs. Might still want that cooldown and the fights to come, but oh, here comes the Oran Horn. They're caught in the pinch. Mickey X can go forward. Faker invisible, wants to pull another grass plate, but this is massive. The Vladimir trying to strike back, but Faker's ult is not going to be effective. Con now has to run for his life. Perks and Caps are still alive. G2 get 2 free for nothing.
Faker missed his Kiana ultimate in the jungle. So
Turn the fight. Con, huge healing coming back. On the back end of that ultimate. Faker now steps forward. Faker now gets taken out. Faker is dead. Faker is dead. What was that?
Faker dies in what was the most important team fight of this series. The bats. Ooh, he messes up the execution.
Baits it out though. Clint had to go up into the air, and it doesn't matter if he messed it up because Clint is still going to go down. But Con right to the backside. Caps goes golden. There's no one else to follow up. Con's damage doesn't matter. The ulti comes out in such a close exchange. For now, they're winning, but Perks is coming in. This is his hero moment. If he wants to turn this fight in favor of team, this could be the game.
He gets the
final
knockout.
moment. Faker is gone. Teddy's next on the list. There's no way he can duel Yasuo. Amada's coming in, but he's just walking into the meat grinder of Perks. Con, can he do it? It's not enough. They've done it. G2. Con, can he get it done? He can't. The Vladimir. They can't do it. This is it. The greatest team in the history of League of Legends, taken down by the greatest team Europe has ever produced. FPX, get ready. G2 is heading to Paris.
"2019 was not the year Faker would earn his redemption. It was the year he fell short. Drawing a line in the sand, Korea's golden generation was done. For all the accomplishments the stars of yesteryear had achieved, for all the dominance they had shown, and all the trophies they had won, every dynasty has to come to an end. Most of the players of this generation were already beginning to retire, and if the greatest among them couldn't win worlds anymore, there seemed to be no hope left for the rest. New regions, players, and organizations were about to write their own stories in the history of competitive League of Legends, wrapping up the legacies of the old. At least for Faker, he could rest easy knowing that his legacy was the best. Even if he never won another event, even if he retired tomorrow, he would always be remembered as the greatest of all time. No matter what any other player does after him, he will always be the star shining so bright you don't notice anything else in the sky. Deft, on the other hand, had a horrible legacy haunting him.
Yeah, he seems to me like almost, he seems to me kind of like a choker, you know, where it's like, you
he's
always,
a massive choker.
you want,
in the
you
playoffs
always
and
want,
worlds, for sure.
Yeah, you always just want more out of him.
Even when he was with EDG, but the world's performances, I think he has some mega chokes then. I think there's times where he just does not show up to the f***ing server.
There have been moments where he can bounce back extremely effectively, and I think that the longevity of his career is very important. But I do think that he has kind of under-delivered when it's like, oh, Deft's coming back to the Korea, here's the super team with Deft, and he hasn't really lived up to the billing.
As sad as it was, and as harsh as the pundits put it, Deft's career felt disappointing. Across the past 7 years, Deft had shown insane talent. In fact, he had shown so much talent, his name was repeatedly brought up when people were asking who was the best AD carry of all time. He'd been conquering Korea and China for years, earning 1,000 kills in the LPL, 1,000 kills in the LCK, multiple MVP awards across multiple seasons, and all kinds of trophies and championships, but failing to win the one tournament that mattered most left everyone feeling like he was wasted potential.
There's a reason why there are so many stories from pro players at those worlds he failed that go like this. In scrims, he just shit on everyone. There's a million stories from so many years. It's just for some reason in the main games, mainly it was worlds. Yeah, I agree. He was a massive fucking choker. I don't know why. I don't even think it was about skill. It was just psychological.
He's just like one of the person that has all the skill, and you just wish they weren't so much of a pussy when it mattered. Where it's just like, man up and take what's yours, man. You're the best guy in Europe.
In the back half of 2019, it looked like it was all coming to an end. While SKT at least got another domestic title, DRX fell apart. After Pawn's retirement, the roster fell into a dysfunction, dropping all the way down to 7th in the standings. Their great spring performance had still given them a chance to qualify for Worlds as Korea's number 3 seed if they could win the regional bracket, but even that slipped through their fingers as the team lost a make-or-break series against Damwon Gaming, cementing these players behind Korea's new generation. The 2019 offseason then left Deft feeling worse than he ever had, severely depressed and now questioning his future in League. It was in moments like these he normally relied on his friends to pick his spirits up, but by now, everyone was gone.
네, 이제 제 주변 형들이 어느 순간 없어지더라고요, 이제. 작년에도 조금 느꼈고 올해는 이제 아예 없으니까.
All the crazy high school kids had retired. Deft's teammates and allies were in the rearview mirror. The only member of his generation who was still around was his rival, who it seemed like even he couldn't win Worlds anymore. If Deft was only hanging on to his career for the chance at hoisting the Summoners Cup one day, it felt clear that was never going to happen. He'd likely be better off retiring. And it was here, in his darkest moment, Deft made a new friend.
되게 혁경이 고생 많았거든요. 그걸 저와 옆에서 지켜보면서 저랑 하면 무조건 롤드컵 우승 시켜줄 수 있겠다고 계속 말했는데
Comes down, the flash from Mirror, flash forward from Koshik, magical journey, but it's Keria that grabs the kill in the
able to get the dragon, but now they're just going in, they're trying to get the reset. Oh! They get the 2! Can they have any more? There's the 3rd!
So, Rich is walking up, he's looking for Pyoshik!
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're going on him, they're trying to demand. That's it! He's got it!
Yes, he does get it there as well. This team fight is going to heavily go in the way of DRX after, as nobody will survive. No survivors here. The soul is denied. DRX is going to wipe the floor with them.
In the 2019-2020 offseason, Kingzone's 17-year-old Academy support player approached Deft. His name was Keria, a young up-and-coming star from Korea's rookie generation, and he wanted more than anything to play alongside Deft on DRX's main roster. So, to sway his mind from retirement, Keria came to Deft in that offseason and made him a promise.
항상 자신감 넘쳐 있어서.
Deft was shocked at this guarantee coming from an unknown overconfident rookie. But even so, it did give him pause, and eventually seemed to be enough encouragement that he came back and re-signed with DRX for 2020. Perhaps he realized even if Deft had lost all his old friends from the glory days of his career, he could always make new friends. Keria was promoted to DRX's main roster for Season 10, giving a great opportunity for Deft to begin rebuilding his support system, where he also got additional help with a new, major off-season acquisition.
Once again, a 4-on-2 Clit a little bit late to this one, as again, look at the damage, it's just massive, as a double kill is going to come in. He is now 7-0, and Toby is running away with this game.
In 2020, DRX managed to sign Chovy, the superstar mid laner that many were still touting as the most talented mid prodigy behind Faker. After filling out the rest of the roster, DRX had suddenly become transformed. They were now a team full of young stars brimming with potential, coupled with Deft, who could be a veteran leader. Although Deft may be past his prime playing days, he now had a new opportunity at his feet. If he could become that leader, a veteran voice that could help guide these younger players to reach their full potential, this team might be championship worthy. That was no easy task for Deft, who was always a quieter kid, keeping his mouth shut and his head down during the early days of his playing career. But he saw what a great opportunity this was for the team, so Deft chose to do what he always had, and looked for new ways to toughen his mental strength up. It was amazing how hard Deft worked. No matter how many years went by or how many disappointments he faced, he never lost his edge or let up on the hours he spent in the team house. In fact, even now when everyone was counting his career as good as done, he was still working harder than ever. Going into 2020, Deft essentially had 2 jobs, trying to keep on top of his level as a professional AD carry, while also taking on the responsibilities of a de facto coach.
어렸을 때 같은 경우에는 만약에 팀원들이 못하면은 물론 티는 안 내지만 속으로는 항상 왜 못하지? 약간 이런 식으로 생각을 했다면 지금은 팀원들이 못하면은 그걸 어떻게 하면 끌어올려줄 수 있을까? 그걸 만약에 못 끌어올리면 그냥 그건 나의 잘못도 있다. 약간 이런 식으로 생각을 해서
2020 was shaping up to be an interesting year for DRX, made more interesting by the global pandemic that forced teams to quarantine and play all matches remotely. Naturally, being the old man in a team house full of young players with all the energy of rookies could leave Deft a little exasperated at times. But even for all the craziness, seeing the excitement and belief his teammates had in their chances at success gave Deft a second wind.
애들이 이제 한 경기 이겼을 때 좋아하는 거 보면은 그냥 그거 보는 재미로 사는 것 같아요. 약간 이제 물론 저도 이기면 기쁘지만 저보다 훨씬 더 기뻐하고 뭔가 저를 뭔가 옛날로 돌려 보내는 약간 네.
2020 spring saw DRX prove to be the surprise of the split. Across the first half, the team was frequently beating every competitor placed in their way, often bouncing around the top 2 placings in the LCK standings. A lot of the year had a question mark of remote play hanging over the head of who was truly the best, and sadly MSI would be cancelled, meaning the spring champion wouldn't be given a chance at an international trophy. But even so, this proved to be a great split for DRX, who started finding some nice synergy together.
Deft and Kyria now have taken down 3 plates. Deft probably really wants the 4th one.
God. Oh, he just finds the Q, sneaks it through the minions. He'd already channeled the ultimate because he wasn't expecting it to actually connect.
Even Chovy thinking it's a little happy. Deft with a bit of a grin on his face.
Yeah, there's a wry smile on this little alpaca's face right here.
Deft managed to do an impressive job both supporting his younger teammates while keeping his own gameplay at a high level. By the end of the split, DRX had managed to take at least 1 game off every opponent they played, except for Faker and T1, who finished just ahead of them in the standings. Still, DRX made top 3, and in their opening playoff series, they were placed against Damwon Gaming once more, a now familiar face with their impressive rookie roster, but Deft handled them with ease, getting some sweet revenge.
Oh my god, there's the flash forward! And Chovy's going to be able to lock down that kill onto Ghost in the end. Deft setting it up really nicely. Another ulti comes out at Showmaker. Also going to be taken down 3-0 so far for DRX. And I don't think that Cannon Barrage is going to do enough.
And it looks like DRX now, they're going to accelerate this really hard as Canyon and Beryl
final
might just
capture
go down
comes in.
here.
Carrier trying to flash himself out of there. Beryl. Oh my god, these piercing arrows are doing way too much damage, and they're still going for the dive. A double kill for Deft. Pioshik is going to survive, and they'll take down this turret. This is turning into a shellacking.
DRX really looked like they had a shot at becoming one of the best in Korea. Kyria and Deft were a top duo bot lane, Chovy was a top carry mid, everyone on the team was playing phenomenally well, even though they were almost an entirely new roster still finding their footing. In their following playoff series, the team fell to Faker and T1 yet again, a frustratingly familiar development by now, although one that didn't sting too badly this time around. While nobody in the org was happy to lose a chance at the domestic title, seeing that there was no MSI and it was a weird year anyway, summer was going to be the more important split. It was confirmed, even though MSI was cancelled, Worlds was still going to happen. It would be a live LAN event, no audience, but just as prestigious and important as any other. If DRX could build on their spring performance, find more synergy with more experience, they might be able to win a top seed to Worlds and could even be one of the favorites to win it all. All they had to do was keep this up, and it was in that bright moment of hope, Deft got injured.
막연히 뭔가 연습을 할 수 없을 정도로 뭔가 이제 바로 응급실에 갔었는데 갑자기 몸이 안 움직이니까.
All of a sudden, Deft's Worlds dream was in jeopardy. In the back half of 2020 summer, DRX began to struggle as their AD carry had to balance pro play with rehabbing his body. It wasn't a good year to need medical care, and the added pressure that this might be Deft's last shot at Worlds only made the situation worse. By the end of the split, you could tell Deft was injured just through watching him play. Little mistakes uncharacteristic of him were popping up. Longer matches clearly caused discomfort. It was a rough time, but while Deft's body may have been breaking down, his work ethic never did. Injury may have hampered his play, but due to his rehab efforts, Deft didn't miss a single start across 2020. The hard work paid off as DRX were in prime position to qualify for Worlds. Due to their top 3 spring performance, all they had to do was finish top 2 in summer, and even if they lost the summer grand final, they would still make it to Worlds as Korea's number 2 seed. They could qualify for the grand finals in the regular season if they got first place in the standings, but the team slipped up down the stretch as Damwon Gaming overtook them late in the year. Because of this, DRX would need to win at least one playoff series, a best of 5 against Gen G, to make it back to the international stage. Gen G were a pretty historic matchup for Deft, as they were the team that eventually took over Samsung Galaxy's spot in the LCK. Not only that, their AD carry at the time was Ruler, a former world champion who was frequently thrown in conversation with Deft and Uzi as the best ADC in League history. Deft wanted more than anything to make it back to Worlds, to prove he still belonged on the international stage, meaning this series had everything riding on it.
누워서 생각만 했던 게 이제 눈앞까지 와서 이제 한 경기만 이기면 나갈 수 있게 되니까.
Here we go. They're just going for it right now. The decider here. They want to get the kill and they want to give it over to Ruler. He's going to get the first blood. The teleport comes in from Chovy and he might just be giving them another kill. No way that he's going to be able to get out of here. He's trying to trade one back. They will get life, but I don't think anyone else is going to get out of here. Chovy's going to be locked down, and that knockups it is going to be avoided as the damage comes in. He goes to Hecarim and he gets it. He gets the steal, but the damage comes in. The Little Ding Lullaby is massive, and the damage comes out from Deft. They're fighting front to back, and it looks like DRX might just be able to win this fight. Fighting as much as he possibly can as Ruler. Unbelievable what this guy is able to do. Can he actually defeat the 3 of them with the karma in his back pocket? The flash comes in, and the answer is going to be no. BDD. All right, here we go. They've got so many sticks in the Baron right now. That's a big cast. Just trying to get the Baron down, and then they want to go for the fight. Here we go. They get it. Massive knockups come in with the Gragas. But do they have the damage? Ruler is in the back line. They're trying to get on top of him, but he is going to flash the wall. This fight so far being won here by the side of DRX, and Chovy gets him over the wall. That is going to be a massive catch, and can they end the game is the real question. It's 33 minutes. They're going to go for the top lane.
They're going to go for the top lane.
And a full wipe, that Baron might just be the way that DRX make Worlds. Just like this, they're going to take down the turret, and they will be able to take down this Nexus. Just target it down, as the 2 members are not going to be able to do it in GG. DRX, they will be going to Worlds after this victory. Huge cheers as they do make it, Ellis.
DRX had done it. Deft was going to his 5th World Championship. Even with his injury and everyone believing his career had passed him by, he found strength to carry on. DRX went on to lose that summer final against Damwon Gaming. As far as they had come, the attrition of the season finally caught up to Deft's health, which was partly what contributed to the 3-0 sweep. Not to say they would have won if he was healthy. By now, Damwon Gaming had become one of the most fearsome clubs in the LCK. This was a roster who hosted a bunch of their own superstars in mid lane, top, and elsewhere. Pound for pound, they might be the most talented roster in the LCK, with all the youthful motivation of new stars trying to earn their spot at the top. Damwon might even be the favorites to win Worlds, in fact. It was either them or China, but if DWG slipped up, Deft and DRX would have a great shot at taking the title for themselves. Because of the variance at Worlds, DRX could always get lucky. They could get a lucky group stage or a lucky bracket draw. It was possible they could go off and win the whole event without even needing to face Damwon head-to-head in the bracket if things panned out. Deft and the team had been putting together interviews all year telling fans to keep believing in them, don't give up hope, and the team certainly wasn't giving up hope now.
이제 롤드컵 때마다 항상 뭔가 제가 할 수 있는 범위보다 더 넘어서 보여주고 싶다는 의욕이 너무 강해서 엎어질 때가 많았는데 그때는 뭔가 어떻게 쉬어야 되는지도 알게 되고 뭔가.
Unfortunately, Deft couldn't get 100% healthy for Worlds. He rehabbed as much as he could in between summer finals and the start of groups, but the short time frame didn't leave much for rest. DRX's event still started off nice enough as they were drawn into a relatively easy group for group stage. They had to play some slightly weaker teams who they had no trouble dispatching, but they were also drawn into the group with China's #1 seed, who reminded them what a force the LPL had become on the world stage.
Back up. They need to get the wave clear down here. They don't have a ton of tools to do so, so it's going to be at least one. That's going to be the taunt in the middle of the fight. That's going to be the follow-up. Kyoshik now going in, but they don't really have a good option for damage. But Jackie Love taking so much back in return. Deft, though, now the one in trouble, forced to flash out for safety. The flash into melee range, and the shotgun to the face. It's 369, now looking for a little bit more, and that's going to be it. TES, they find the fight in the base that they need.
Dropping 2 games to Top Esports was disappointing for DRX. This meant they'd be given the #2 seed out of groups, probably facing a tougher opponent in quarterfinals, as Deft had experienced plenty of times before. The losses were extra bittersweet for Deft in particular, who had become happy in recent years seeing China's success at Worlds. For much of the era of Korean dominance across 2013 to 2017, most League fans didn't give China the respect they deserved because of their lack of success at Worlds. Having spent so much of his time on EDG during those years, Deft became a cheerleader for the region of sorts, going so far as to specifically defend China before 2018, urging fans to believe in all the potential they had. Now, he was almost cursed with how right he was, having dropped critical games to China in his most recent events. Still, 2020 Worlds wasn't over, and in a single elimination bracket anything can happen. DRX and Deft still had their shot at Worlds, even though their worst group stage seeding meant they had a tougher opponent in bracket, and they certainly got an unlucky draw.
Okay, Arrow is going to connect here as Chovy tried to disintegrate someone off to the side, but Pyoshik is the one in trouble. Ghost, not a lot of mana, but he's got arrows, and he will be able to take them down. It is going to be Chovy falling as well on the fight on the top side. We'll have to check that one out in the replay as Kerry is going to get taken out by Showmaker. And this is all starting to go to hell in a handbasket for DRX. The 2 rookies of DRX might be in a bit of trouble here. Glacial Fissure pretty nicely avoided by Damwon as Deft trying to come over. Dawning Shadow is way too late though. Good knock-up lands onto the Graves. Deft trying to take matters into his own hands as Canyon down very, very low. Chovy does a lot of damage, but Senna's just by herself. And Damwon are picking DRX apart. From Nogari, this Nexus very soon to go down, and Damwon looking absolutely unstoppable in this first quarterfinal. 3-0 as many predicted, but I think
It was almost cruel to see how Deft never got a break at Worlds. 2020 was the season where it felt like everything was coming together, but when all was said and done, Deft was back to square one. Except this time was different, because this time, Deft knew he was coming back.
그 생각이 제일 컸던 것 같아요. 그냥 몸이 여기서 더 안 좋아지더라도 이게 내 마지막 경기가 되면 안 되겠다.
In the following offseason, there was no doubt in his mind Deft was returning to competitive play. He took the offseason to rehab harder, get truly healthy, and weighed his options for who'd give him the best shot to continue his development next season. This was another season where all kinds of offers came by Deft's doorstep, and he chose to do what he always did in years prior. For Season 11, Deft followed his mid laner, this time Chovy, as the two signed with Hanwha Life. Hanwha was an interesting organization. Although they were a team who struggled in recent LCK seasons, they were a very rich org with money to spend on free agents, and an extensive coaching staff who could help guide players. Deft joined in part due to the coaching staff really convincing him they could build something special together. In that year's spring split, Deft and Chovy did exactly that, as they elevated Hanwha to new heights. Even though the org ended Season 10 second to last in the LCK, this year they started off with a top 3 placing. The Superstars had completely turned the team around, making the org more competitive than ever. In fact, they took at least one game off every team they played, except for 2 familiar opponents, Damwon Gaming and Deft's old rival.
But it's T1 that just plays this one out clean from start to finish. The fights are gorgeous. And there is just nothing to be done here.
Yep. It's Faker that's going to grab the kill onto Deft there as Chovy.
During this whole time, T1 and Faker had been working on their own journey back to the top. After failing to win an international trophy at MSI and Worlds in 2019, then not even qualifying for Worlds in 2020, T1 knew something had to change. Although they were 3 years removed from their last world title, SKT rebuilt their super team with a new series of stars, including one pickup, as they signed a player who was quickly becoming the best support in the region.
Favor,
flash in from Carrier, looking for Deft. This one's personal as he devours him. The Ezreal's just dead. Senna Tomkench, what a ridiculous combination here on the bottom side as they're just underneath the turret and Carrier will lick the cat to death.
While Deft got to stick with his friend Chovy for 2021, his bot lane buddy Kyria left to join his arch rival, who got the better of them most of Season 11. T1 finished below Hanwha in the regular season standings that spring, but still got the upper leg on them in their head-to-head series. Faker seemed back in form, at least good enough to win another domestic cup, and he really wanted to make it back to the international stage. But T1 were still not immune to the increased level of play in the pro scene. In the spring playoff, T1 were swept by Gen G, eliminated just in the semi-finals. Although they managed to run it back in summer, getting another top 4 finish and even earning revenge against Gen G in playoffs, they fell again, this time to Damwon Kia in grand finals, leaving Faker without a trophy all year. Still, with T1 qualifying for finals, that guaranteed them a world spot as either Korea's 3rd or 4th seed. They'd have to just play one quick series in the regional bracket, a best of 5 to determine which team was which, and as if fate demanded it, their seeding match was once again a series of Deft versus Faker.
Morgan, by the way, he teleported to the top lane for, I'm really not sure what reason. Maybe he thought he was getting dove and he wanted to escape. That's my best bet. As now we're trying to get on top of Gumayusi here, and Deft is just gonna die! Vista extends so deep and Gumayusi just laughs at him, and this might just be the way the game ends. Faker's gonna survive, Gumayusi will as well, and Willer's all alone up against Owner. He's trying to get resets, but down he will go, and now T1 might have just broken the game and taken it for themselves.
Yeah. T1 won the series, taking that world's number 3 seed, making Hanwha 4th, which sent Hanwha into the play-in stage for Worlds 2021. play-ins were a new development in the Worlds format springing up a few years ago. The way it functioned was play-ins occurred the first week of Worlds, where the strongest teams from emerging regions would fight each other, as well as some of the weaker teams from the top regions. The victors across the multi-stage format would then make it into the regular group stage of Worlds, which began shortly after. Although it was obviously possible for a play-in team to go off and win a world championship, no team had ever come close to doing so in the brief history since the format had been implemented. That of course left many skeptical whether or not Hanwha would be able to do anything this time around. For the most part, fans were just celebrating how Deft had somehow managed to make his 6th world championship on 5 different teams, a record in League of Legends by that point. He may not have a title, but he'd shown unbelievable longevity and versatility, staying at a world-class level for almost his whole career now. Most thought he wasn't going to win Worlds, but just seeing one of the greatest players in the history of the game continue to perform on stage live was always a joy. Of course, Deft didn't care about fan expectations or records. He wanted Worlds, and he was going to do whatever he could to see himself in finals. He tore his way through play-ins this year alongside Chovy, won his way through group stage again, this time even tied for first with China's RNG. He had a shot at a number 1 seed out of groups, but narrowly lost the tiebreaker, giving Hanwha second, which led to another tough bracket draw.
This very rare circumstance where you can actually pull it off is actually pull people out of their engages as Deft might be in trouble.
Yeah, kind of looking for the dive right underneath his turret. He had the shield bow and he's absolutely fine, just walks up. Yeah. Should be able to get Shirley, but the Moonlight Vigil comes down. That's stolen away though. Owner actually diving forward. Faker using his ult to make sure no one can get out. Deft going to be the first victim. That's another one to go down as well. As unfortunately, Will is not going to be...
It doesn't even matter though.
It's heroic, but it's not going to matter. T1 Will 3-0 Hanwha Life Esports. They wanted to do this in the World's Gauntlet. Thankfully, they got a second try, and damn, second time was the charm.
It was absurd. No matter how much time had passed, somehow the high school duo of Deft and Faker always saw their paths crossing. And of course, Faker always came out on top. It had been so many trials and attempts and failures for the AD carry to ever beat the mid laner. Every time he came far enough in his career to reach a new milestone, that same rival kept blocking his way. If fans thought Deft had no shot at Worlds anymore after the 2020 loss, the 2021 exit sealed his fate. His career had been moving backwards at this point. He wasn't playing for a top number 1 seeded Korean super team like KT or Samsung anymore. Deft was only qualifying for Worlds on 3rd or 4th seeds from Korea, on teams that weren't even winning domestic trophies. Time had just passed him by. Between T1's top squad, the international super teams, the rookies dominating Korea, and the influx of a decade of new talent all entering competitive League of Legends, it was only natural to assume Deft's best days were behind him. But of course, even now, he refused to give up.
저는 팬분들을 되게 실망시킨 적이 꽤 있다고 생각했는데 저번에 한번 어떤 분이 이제 한 번도 저를 응원했던 거를 후회했던 적이 없다고 팬분들한테 제가 작년에 유독 그렇게 막 가볍게 뱉었던 말도 아니고 오히려 실망만 더 크게 안겨드린 것 같아서 뭔가 앞으로는 믿어달라는 말은 크게 못할 것 같아요. 한 번만 더 속는다고 생각하고 끝까지 응원해주시면 다음번에는 실망시키지 않도록 하겠습니다.